Hello everyone and welcome to another Daily Dose of Drupal. Today we are on episode number 207 and we're going to be going over the Views Isotope module. But before we get started, I am Shane Thomas. Make sure to head on over to codekarate.com, check out all the other videos and posts. Also go ahead and check out our e-commerce course, our ebook, and all the other cool things we have going on. Also, follow me on Twitter, smthomas3, if you have not already. So what is the Views Isotope module? Well, the Views Isotope module makes it really easy to add some nice jQuery filtering type effects to a view. It's not as straightforward as you might think to install it, so there's a few tricks you got to kind of figure out, and we'll go through those. One thing to note before you get started is the Isotope library that's required is not GPL. So just keep that in mind. It can be used for non-commercial and personal applications for free, but requires a $25 license if you want to use it on a commercial site. Also, make sure to download the library separately. And there's a couple things you need to know when downloading the library. So if you go over onto this library page, you're going to want to look for this V1, the version 1. We want to make sure we use the older version. So then we click this link here and it should go ahead and give you the version 1 options. So what we want to do is you can download it here and this one should work. Or you can go to GitHub and you can go to the releases. And you can find the v15.26. That's the one that I'm using, so I know it works. And if you open up the README file from the module, it also gives you some helpful information. And it talks about the installation. So it says download the latest version, which isn't really the latest version. The 1.5.26, I believe, is the one that I'm using. But it does tell you where to put it. So you want to place it in a jQuery .isotope folder inside the site's all libraries. So you're going to want to make sure you move that over, call it jquery.isotope.min.js, which if you download the old version should be what it's called by default. So just keep that in mind. You have to get the library set up or none of this is going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what you have to do to actually get it installed. So if we come on over to our test site where I already have it installed, and we look for Isotope, you'll see there is a Views Isotope module. I'm using the 2.7.x-2.0 alpha 1 version, and there's also an Isotope example, and this is just a feature module that contains a view and content type, actually just a view that shows you kind of how to set the whole thing up, because there's a few views that have to work together in order to get this entire the Isotope module to actually work right. So let's look at one other thing first before we get started. You do need the jQuery update module in order to get this to work, and by default it comes like that. But because you're using views and the newer versions of jQuery sometimes cause little JavaScript issues when you're working with views, it's a good idea to take this alternate jQuery version for admin pages and set that to just 1.5. And by doing that, you can avoid any small things where you're wondering why your views aren't quite working right. So let's go ahead and look at the jQuery Isotope view. The one that comes with that example module is this Isotope example. So if we open this up, we can see it in action. And this is similar to what it looks like out of the box. I have a few articles here. It just uses the article content type. And it goes ahead and it allows you to, based on this tags taxonomy term, filter out. You can also sort it, and I'll show you how to set all that up here in a second. But let's take a look at the actual view itself. So if I go into Isotope example, It's a pretty basic view. The format needs to be set to isotope grid. And you can see there are 3 fields here, but these 2 fields have something special about them. So if I look at the tags field, you'll notice if you go back to this example, the tags field doesn't show up. If you go into the tags field, there is no label, and under the style settings, this is the important part here, it's been selected to customize the field HTML, use a div element, and give it a CSS class of isotope filter. And that is what allows the isotope module to communicate correctly. So when you click on that filter, it actually filters out the right articles, so it only shows the ones that are actually with that taxonomy term. You'll also notice this title field. If you come into the style settings, it's very similar, nothing else selected, but the style settings has isotope, sort, and then a space, and then title. I'll show you where this comes in, but this allows it to communicate and allows sorting on this field. You'll notice this field isn't displayed either. The views isotope JavaScript goes ahead and gets rid of that or hides it, but it is there as far as the data is concerned to communicate back and forth. The other thing you'll notice, the only other thing that separates this from a normal view, is that there are 2 header view areas. And these view areas actually pull in other views. So when you look at this is actually a block view here, and this is a block view. And then this is the actual page view. So what the view is doing is it's actually pulling in a separate block view for the sort options, and pulling in a separate, or for the filter options, and then a separate block view for the sort options. And I think the reason it was built this way is because then you can take these blocks, and it doesn't have to be in the header view. You could take them and you could put them anywhere, and it should work with this. But we're going to go ahead and leave them in the header for this example. And let's go ahead and take a look at one of those views to see what's different about those views. So if we look at this isotope example filter block, you'll notice it's a pretty straightforward view. It just is a format isotope filter block. It just shows the taxonomy term, which we can of course confirm. These are just taxonomy terms with all showing everything. And the filter criteria is to just show any terms under the vocabulary of tags. The isotope sort block is the same, except for it uses this isotope sort options vocabulary instead of the tags. So if we look at the isotope sort options taxonomy vocabulary, you'll see that I did add one term to this list, and that's the title. Without that, this won't show up. And this title term here, you notice I have title lowercase. It has to correspond with the actual field here. So you see that that's how I believe that's how it communicates back and forth to show and get the filtering to actually work. You'll also notice that by default, it sets the title to ascending. In order to get that to work, so when you actually load the page, everything looks right, you need to make sure you change the sort criteria on this view to default to title ascending. And then the sort options are going to go ahead and work, so when you actually sort it, it's going to sort it correctly, either alphabetically or backwards alphabetically. Now we're going to look at one other example that I created. If you look here, I created a content type called images. And this is a simple content type that only has a few fields: a title field, an image field, and a tags field for the term reference. And I created a view modeled after the example that I called images isotope. If we go into that view, it's just a normal content view that is only showing the images content type that I created. And I added 3 fields. Keep in mind it is an isotope grid, so that has to be there in order for this to work. I added a title field, which is just the basic title, nothing special there. An image field, which is just the image field, and it has a image style, but there's nothing special about that field. Then the tags field, and this is where I had to go in because I don't want this to show up and I actually want this to work as a filter. I went into the style settings, customize field HTML, set it as a div, and add the CSS class isotope-filter. The one other thing I did to this view to get it to work is I went into header, I added a view area, and I went down and found the isotope example filter block, and I grabbed the display isotope filter one. I could add a sort too if I wanted to add sort options. I'm not going to do that this time, but I could. Go ahead and get rid of this second one here. And if I want, the reason I'm using the example is because I'm using the same taxonomy vocabulary. If for some reason I wanted to use a different taxonomy vocabulary, I would have to create a new view, or I guess I could technically modify the example one, but I'd probably create a new view modeled after the example for the filter options. So I'd create a new filter block view, and then I would just reference that here. So rather than reference the example one, I'd reference the one I just created. And if we save this and go take a look at the page, you will see we have our title, we have our images. I have 3 of each tagged with these different terms, and it works. Click on all, it shows all of them. So each of these is the title, here's the image, and of course the tags are hidden, but because there's the tag field hidden on here, the isotope module and JavaScript library is able to communicate back and forth and dynamically filter out the correct option or the correct terms. So that's it. That's all there is to it. It's a little confusing with the multiple views and how it all connects. And of course you might need to add some CSS, make it look good. But out of the box, if you get the right isotope library installed and you learn how the views communicate back and forth, it's pretty straightforward to build your own isotope views. The sort options get a little confusing, but you can definitely get it figured out if you follow the other view with getting the title working. So that's really all there is to it. Go ahead and make sure to check out codekarate.com. Let us know if you have anything else you would like to see in the future, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.